I thought it was going to be a normal morning run in the park, but then I saw her, Karen, the woman who would destroy my Apple Watch and accuse me of being a terrorist. I never expected my morning run to turn into a life-threatening situation. Here's how it all went down. I woke up early this morning feeling restless and decided to go for a run to clear my head. The sun hadn't even risen yet, so the park was almost completely empty. I put on my running shoes and my Apple Watch Series 6, which I had bought just a few days ago to help me keep track of my fitness goals. As I started running, I felt the crisp morning air fill my lungs, and I couldn't help but feel grateful for the opportunity to be outside and moving my body. I was about halfway through my run when I saw her, a middle-aged woman with blonde hair and a pink tracksuit. She was walking towards me with a determined look on her face. "Excuse me, young man," the woman said, blocking my path. "What are you wearing on your wrist?" I looked down at my new Apple Watch and then back up at her. "It's just an Apple Watch," I said, trying to step around her. "Don't lie to me," she said, grabbing my arm. "I know what that is. It's a bomb timer, isn't it?" I tried to pull away from her grip. "No, it's not. It's an Apple Watch. I bought it just a few days ago." "Stop lying," she yelled, her face turning red. "You're a terrorist, and you're planning to blow up this park. Give me the watch now." I shook my head, feeling my anger starting to rise. "I'm not a terrorist, and this is not a bomb timer. It's just a watch." She wouldn't let go of my arm, so I pulled it away from her and started to jog away. "Leave me alone," I yelled over my shoulder, but she wasn't giving up that easily. She started to run after me, shouting for help and calling me a terrorist. I could hear people starting to look our way, and I felt my face getting hot with embarrassment. "Stop!" I yelled, turning around to face her. "I'm not a terrorist, and I don't have a bomb. This is just a watch." But she wasn't listening. "I'm telling you, this is just an Apple Watch," I said, trying to pull my wrist out of Karen's grasp. "I don't believe you," Karen sneered. "I know what a bomb timer looks like, and that's exactly what you have on your wrist." "I'm not a terrorist," I yelled, feeling my frustration boiling over. "You're the one causing a scene here, not me." "Someone call the police!" Karen shouted, still holding onto my arm. The crowd started to grow around us, and I could hear people whispering and murmuring about what was happening. I felt embarrassed and frustrated, but I tried to keep my cool as best I could. Suddenly, I heard a voice from the crowd. "Excuse me, ma'am," the voice said. "I couldn't help but overhear what you were saying. I used to be a police officer, and I can tell you that this young man is not a terrorist. That's just an Apple Watch." Karen turned to face the voice, her eyes wide with surprise. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean that this young man is not a terrorist," the retired officer said, stepping towards us. "That's just an Apple Watch. I've seen plenty of them in my time." Karen looked at the officer, then back at me. "But," she said, her voice trailing off. "But nothing," the officer said firmly. "You were wrong, ma'am. I suggest you apologize to this young man and let him go about his business." Karen looked like she was about to argue, but then she seemed to deflate. "I'm sorry," she said, turning to me. "I didn't mean to cause a scene. I was just scared, I guess." I looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "It's okay," I said. "Just try not to jump to conclusions next time." Karen nodded and walked away, disappearing into the morning mist. I watched her go, then turned back to the crowd. They were still looking at me, but now they seemed more sympathetic than anything else. "Are you okay?" someone asked. I nodded, feeling a little shaken but mostly relieved that it was all over. "Yeah," I said. "I think I'm okay." The crowd started to disperse, and I started to jog again, feeling the cool morning air on my face. As I ran, I thought about what had just happened, and how lucky I was that the retired police officer had been there. Without him, who knows what might have happened. Wow, what a crazy story. I can't believe Karen thought an Apple Watch was a bomb timer. People really need to think before they jump to conclusions. Glad everything turned out okay in the end, though. Am I the jerk for telling my parents that if they don't tell me the truth, I'll assume the worst of them? I returned from my spring break to find that my family had exploded. My mom had moved out, and my parents were considering a divorce. When I asked them why, they refused to give me an answer, leaving me to come up with my own conclusions. But as I dug deeper, I discovered some shocking secrets that threatened to tear my family apart even more. So my family totally exploded while I was on spring break 2 weeks ago. I went on a trip with my grandparents and came back to find that my mom had moved out, and they had a serious sit-down talk about divorcing. It wasn't a surprise because they've both been acting weird and shady for a while, but that's not what I was expecting to come back to. And they could have let me unpack first, at least. They asked me if I had any questions, and I asked them which one cheated, because that was my first thought. They got super uncomfortable and said that the reasons between them were private. I said that it wasn't private when it meant I suddenly lost my family over it, and they owed me at least some reason for why this was happening. "We don't love each other anymore" doesn't cut it. You don't just stop loving someone for no reason. That's dumb. So what? They said that was all I needed to know, and we needed to talk about how the living situation would work and everything. I told them I didn't want to live with either of them if they were going to be like that. Everyone has been mad since then, and my mom came over to talk it out last night. They still don't want to tell me why. I told them both that if they were going to hide stuff, I'll just make up my own worst case and go with that. Since mom left, it can all be her fault. Since it's her fault, I won't live with her or go see her. She got upset and said it was unfair and not her fault. I told her to give me the real reason then or just deal with it. My dad said I was out of line, and I said that it could all be his fault then, and the same deal. That started an argument between the two of them, but I'm holding my own. I'm pretty sure at least one of them will crack and tell me what happened soon, so I can decide how I feel about it. I don't need graphic details, but a simple, someone cheated. Mom is a secret lesbian, don't tell anyone. Or, we've both really changed a lot and don't want the same things would help. If one of them did something bad, I want to know. If they won't own up or explain why there are no bad guys, they can be the bad guys. I had to talk to my school counselor today, and she said it's totally understandable, but playing them against each other will hurt everyone. So am I the jerk? A commenter said, "You're the jerk, but you're just a kid who needs help to process and understand this and how to move through it," a commenter said. The commenter continued by saying, "Your parents are doing a great job handling the divorce thus far, so I hope they continue to do great and get you into therapy ASAP. If they're on top of things, they looked into this before they even announced their divorce." The OP replied, "We already have to go see someone this week, and I told them I'm not saying anything to the counselor because I didn't mess this up. They did, so they need the counseling, not me." The OP continued, "I don't have any other questions. If they can't answer this one, I can't trust either of them, so nothing else matters. I don't want a relationship with them if one of them does something bad to the other. If they both caused it, I want to go live with my grandma instead of either of them. Can't trust people that act shady and hide important things. 10,000% cool with torching relationships with people who lie and hide things from me. If my mom is a lesbian, that's completely fair. I'd want to know why she stayed married for like 20 years. But like that's not anyone's fault. If my dad fell out of love with my mom, I'd want to know why. Yeah, I'm going to have some side for that because it's a little bit of a douchebag move after wasting like 20 years of someone's life and getting me mixed up in it. But as long as he hasn't been running around with other people, behind her back, that's not unreasonable. I'm not going to be happy with either of them now anyway because I know they're hiding something, and that's not okay. Even if it's nobody's fault, they could say that instead of not answering, the only reason to hide is if there's something worth hiding. If I'm going to go through the suck no matter what, I'm taking them with me." The OP added, "If they gave me some indication of why they fell out of love, sure. We fell out of love because we're super different now than when we got married. We fell out of love because we have really different values and can't agree. We fell out of love because we just really hated living together. We fell out of love because we hurt one another too bad to keep going. All those would be fine. I'm not stupid because I'm 14. There's always a reason people stop liking each other, even if it's dumb. It's a reason. I don't have to know everything, but I need a general direction. If my dad really hurt my mom enough to make her have to leave, I will eat him alive. If my mom hurt my dad enough to kick her out, big same. If it's just normal bullshit, then they can tell me that and leave me out of it, and I'll figure out what I want to do later." The OP continued, "Just from what I've found, they planned the move out for more than a month. This wasn't a last-minute thing. My mom's apartment was rented 3 months ago. I have the entire email chain about it between her and her new landlord, and another set of DMs about it between her and her parents setting up the trip to get me out of town for the move. My grandparents also lied for the entire trip to keep up the lie. My dad has lied to his job on multiple occasions, and I have the Expedia receipts and texts to prove it. Also, looking very much like they're both cheaters. I'm just researching the timeline and partners now and finding additional support evidence, so they can't claim it's not true. Right now, they can come clean that they both fucked up massively, and we can figure out if I can trust them again, or good riddance to the trash." When asked about her grandparents lying to her, the OP replied, "I asked them if my parents were thinking about divorcing during the trip because there was definitely a vibe before I left. They knew about the divorce. They set my mom up with her lawyer. They told me that nobody was getting a divorce and to relax. They have less culpability than my parents because it doesn't look like they know why my parents are splitting up so far. If they apologize, I'll probably accept it. If they don't, we'll see what happens." When asked how she found her parents' secrets, the OP said, "I fix my parents' stuff a lot, so I know they both use the same couple of passwords for everything and they don't tech well. My dad was drunk and asleep on the couch last night because he has been a lot lately. My mom doesn't live here anymore. I just had to look up a few things, copy off some stuff, and put the tablet back before continuing on my own machine. It's not fancy or techy, but it was enough to find out what I wanted to know. Edit. Okay, I'm the jerk. That's okay. I did some digging on my own tonight, and I know pretty much what happened now. I don't feel bad about being a jerk to other jerks. Thanks. Edit #2. People keep asking me what happened. Both my parents are cheaters. My mom is stalking her boyfriend and his wife and trying to break up their marriage. My dad is screwing one of his 17-year-old athletes and other people. I got the receipts and got help to report the 17-year-old thing because that is not even remotely okay. It crashed and burned on him on Friday, and I haven't heard from him since then. I worked out stuff with my grandparents, and they believe me that my mom is lying to them. I'm living with them right now, and they're figuring things out with my other grandma to make a permanent plan. My mom is mad that I wouldn't go to her place after the blow-up, but I've already told her that I don't want to talk to her for a while. The cop said I could stay where I am at the moment. That's where we are now. It sucks, but it would be worse if I didn't know, and had to keep on living with them with all this crap going on. I'm glad I didn't listen to some people here and just let it drop. I'm glad to know that all the weird stuff I've noticed over the last year was real, and not made up like my parents told me. I'm glad my dad isn't going to be able to be gross toward his players anymore. I'm okay being the jerk here just for that reason alone. The OP left the following update. This is more of an exercise for me so that I can get my thoughts straight before I make some decisions. If you're here to call me out about being an AH from my AI to post, today is not the day, and I am not the one. I accept the judgment. I just don't feel bad about it now. If you can provide constructive feedback, I'm open to that. I do listen and consider reasonable advice, but I've had a stressful week, so please keep your replies constructive. I won't be entertaining aggressive trolls. To bring everything up to date, family therapy was a fiasco. I told the counselor that I didn't want to participate and would rather stay in the lobby. After she tried to convince me to stay in the room, she let me go back out. My parents told me I would be grounded if I didn't stay. The therapist talked to them alone for a while, and then we left. I am not grounded. They are very angry. I still have to go with them weekly, but I don't have to stay in the room. I have to go to an individual counselor next week, and I'll see what happens when I refuse treatment. Hopefully, I won't have to go back. I've decided to keep the contents of the dossier I gathered closed for now until I can weigh a couple of points of moral conflict. There are illegal things going on, but busting it open could hurt people who don't deserve it. It might keep some other people from getting hurt though. Depending on how my parents react, there's a non-zero chance it could get me physically hurt unless I can do it in a way to be out of reach. I want to have private personal conversations with all my grandparents and maybe my rabbi first. My mom cracked last night like I thought she would, but only admitted to my dad cheating. I am so done with both of them. I was going to spend a month with each set of grandparents this summer anyway, so my parents agreed to let me stay with my grandma until the fall. I'll go once my exams are done. At least my grandma is happy. After Shabbat dinner, I talked to my other grandparents and told them that I know they lied to me. They apologized, and we talked. I'm sleeping over with them this weekend, and we'll discuss some things tomorrow. I feel like something I've learned this week is that some people get really mad when I resist being controlled. Being a good kid and doing what everyone has always told me are the right things doesn't matter unless I shut up and do what I'm told. I'm not going to stop doing good, but I feel pretty done with shutting up and obeying. A lot of people said I would regret knowing the truth. I don't. Happy isn't the word. I'm tired, really disappointed and angry. Now I know who I'm dealing with, and I feel better knowing that I wasn't imagining things like my parents said. OP leaves a recap in a comment. Short version. Both my parents are cheating. Both are angry at each other over it. It wasn't an open situation, they just cheated. My dad bullied one of his partners into an abortion last year. One of the people he's cheating with is under 18. He's doing things that will get him on some kind of list and probably land him in jail if he gets caught. My mom is trying to break up her boyfriend's marriage because she thinks he'll move in with her. She's done some really sad and crazy stalker things, and it's scary. She cracked like I thought she would, but only told me my dad cheated. They tried to force me to participate in family therapy, and threatened to ground me for the entire summer if I didn't. The therapist let me sit in the lobby while they talked, and I think talked them out of it. I have to go to the therapy sessions with them, but I don't have to participate if I don't want to. I talked to my grandparents about lying to me during the trip that no divorce was coming, and they apologized and said that they realize now that it wasn't the best approach, so we're cool. I'm going to spend the next few weekends and summer with my grandparents. I don't even want to look at my parents. Basically, all the sneaking around, fighting, and shady stuff I noticed was real, and they've been lying to me for nearly 2 years. Now I have to decide whether to out them or not, because really bad stuff is going on. The plan at present is to talk with my rabbi about the ethics involved and then tell someone who can do something at least about the underage girl. The rest of it is bad, but that's the part that really needs to be stopped right now, I think. The OP posted another thread asking lawyers for some legal advice. Here's what he was asking. For the record, I'm under 18, so I'm sure that affects what I can and can't do here. This is something that needs to be handled by grown-ups, but I would be reporting on a family member, so I need to protect myself from the fallout. A close adult family member is a pedophile, not like a few years age difference thing, like decades. I know the right thing to do would be to report it, but I need to do it anonymously. I found out from texts that I have screenshots of. Is there a way that I can get this information to the appropriate authorities without being identified? Would they even do anything with anonymously sent screenshots? How likely is it to be tracked back to me once it's in the open? Thanks in advance. Edit. The minor is 17, and this is in Oregon. The older person is 17's coach. In the comments, Oregon's age of consent is 18, meaning this sexual relationship wouldn't be legal in the first place, but the fact that the older adult is their coach probably makes it even worse. Law enforcement is who to contact about this. There is no guarantee of anonymity. While you can request that when you report it, and law enforcement would likely respect that, there are a ton of ways someone can infer or merely guess at who reported something. How likely it is that this minor and/or this adult could guess it was you is unknown, though I'm not sure you should let that dissuade you. OP. Okay, thanks. I guess I was hoping that I could just get a burner and send an anonymous tip or something. It's going to get rough if they figure out it was me. I don't think they would be able to get that just from the screenshots. I'm more worried about the cops telling someone. If it has to happen that way, I guess that's what happens. My rabbi offered to contact someone he trusts from the police department and sat with us while I gave a statement yesterday. I gave him a thumb drive with the screens. It's all stuff that would be easy for them to go verify themselves anyway with a warrant or something, I think. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's out of my hands now. He also gave me a number to call for help if things go sideways and I don't feel safe. So now I just hunker down and try not to think about it. Update #2. Things blew up this weekend. I wasn't home when everything happened, so I missed most of the fireworks, but I've gotten the story through family. My dad got suspended from his job Friday. The cops took him in. He's out now, but my grandparents told me that it's serious. Everyone in the family is all riled up, mostly at my dad. Apparently the word got out since he's a teacher and a coach, so it's a circus. My mom showed up to tell me what happened and take me to her place, but I told her I didn't want to go. My grandparents talked her down, so I'm staying with them. I go to a different school, but they decided to keep me home today. I'm supposed to talk to some people later this morning anyway and go get some clothes and stuff from the house. I haven't heard from my dad. My other grandma, his mom, came over yesterday, and I feel really bad for her. This is the saddest I've seen her since Grandpa died. No one seems to know that I reported it. I don't know what happened with the girl, but I'm guessing she admitted stuff was happening. I hope she's okay. I don't know where things go from here, but I've told all my grandparents that I don't want to live with Mom. Living with Dad doesn't seem like an option right now, but I don't want to go there either. They said we would figure it out. I told my grandparents, Mom's parents, last weekend that I don't think she's being honest with them, and they believe me. The cop I talked to said that as long as I'm in a safe place with people who are looking out for me, it's not likely that anyone is going to make me go back to my parents without a lot of legal wrangling. So as long as my grandparents are okay with it, I should be okay. I've got a summer job in the works, so I'm just going to focus on that and lay low, I think. Save up everything I can. This whole thing is a mess, and I feel like I'm stuck in a nightmare a lot of the time, but I'm not sorry I found out the truth. She definitely needs therapy to help deal with what's going on in her life right now. However, I don't blame her for being angry that no one wanted to tell her the truth about why the family was being split apart. It's not like she's 6 and wouldn't understand. She's 14 and absolutely will not accept life changes without an explanation. She proved that she's not just a doll that they can drag around with no feelings and opinions. That angered them because they think she should just mindlessly accept that her life is permanently altered. What's even more ridiculous is that if the dad had broken down and told the truth to her, his crime may have never been discovered by her. So I'm actually glad they didn't tell her anything. If you enjoyed today's video, check out another video on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe for more videos, or you're definitely the jerk.